Hey everybody, thanks for joining us again on Realty Check. We have some big things coming up in our future shows. We're definitely changing the whole format here. If you guys have been watching our show, please take a moment, like, comment, and share, and stay tuned for, basically we're wrapping up this season that we're in right now where we're talking about different things that you can do as a homeowner and different things that you might need to do as a homeowner. And once this series wrapped up, we're going to be going into real estate panels. This whole show is going to turn into basically a local Las Vegas real estate show, but we're going to have other real estate professionals besides just me on the show talking, giving input, and really just talking about what's happening in real estate from different perspectives. So if you are watching and you are in the real estate industry and you are a real estate professional, please contact me. We'd love to have you on the show. New agents, seasoned agents, we'd like to hear perspectives from all points of view. So make sure to reach out to me and stay tuned and keep on watching. It's going to get really interesting if you're interested in real estate in Las Vegas, and who's not, right? So watch our, take a moment, like our show, like us on Facebook, comment, share, tell your friends about us, and keep watching. But today, we have some guests with us that are going to talk to us about restoration. Now, if you have ran into this problem before, you know it's a big deal, and it's one of those things that you have to find a solution, and you have to find a solution quick. So today we have Alex and Raul Arredondo from WFM Restoration here with us to tell us about what restoration is, what you can expect out of it, what you need to do, why you would need it, and walk us through this scary event to, I'm sure you guys make it not so scary, right?
Right. Well, thank you for having us. And yeah, it's very, very scary. At one point, you walk into your home and you don't know what's going on. You see a lot of water. So there's the number one thing you typically do is call your insurance. And that's where a lot of homeowners fail to understand that there's a process to this. I mean, if you walk into your house and it's actually in flames, you don't call the insurance. You call the fire department. So basically this is kind of like in reverse. You want to get this water out of the way, and that's basically what we specialize.
Okay.
And that's our goal, to make sure that once we come in, we start taking control of your home to prevent secondary damages, which is the main thing.
One thing when I was reading about you that I think is very important is you guys are from here, right? You're local Las Vegas natives.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about you, how you got started, because I think that's important, because Vegas is, our environment's not the same as other cities, other states, and I'm sure in the restoration aspect of things and how things grow and how fungals or whatever grow, that makes a difference, correct?
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, the weather does play a key factor. Mold grows pretty fast, 24 to 48 hours.
Wow.
And the weather is basically the perfect weather for mold growth.
Because it's hot and and musty.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that, yes, just because it's hot, that there's not much humidity doesn't mean that mold isn't going to grow, right? Because maybe it's 110 degrees outside, but inside your home, you're keeping it at a cool 70, 75 degrees. Inside of your wall cavities, that moisture starts to build up, a little bit of heat in there, and then that's where the real microbial growth gets to start.
Yeah, perfect environment.
Mm-hmm, perfect environment.
Yeah.
So, how'd you guys get into this business?
Well, I started doing mitigation about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And from there, we got the opportunity to kind of learn the industry, the trade, and push hard into kind of like the real mitigation side. It's really hard to find a good contractor out there that's going to actually take care of you. And, with my background in management and customer service, and seeing that the industry is guided to helping out homeowners when they're in need, and they're kind of blindsided. They don't know anything about the industry. They don't even know we exist at some instances. So
you're one of those kind of companies where no one knows you're there until they need it, right?
Right.
And with that, being said, you kind of learn the industry, the process, learn that the most important thing is that the insurance at the end pays for most of the repairs. The only thing out of pocket is your deductible. So that's very, very important. It's kind of like a car. You crash your car, you got insurance, you're going to be safe with paying your $500 deductible. Is the same thing But homeowners are always scared of the process. So that's where we come in with our, background in customer service, like I said. And, we like to help customers, take care of them, offer the best service that we can. And, it's kind of like a perfect fit for us, go out there and take care of them.
Right. I don't know if this is in your in your realm or not, but I'm going to ask a question because I've heard of this before, but I've heard of it. That doesn't mean it's the truth. You just hear some people talking. It's not always accurate. I've heard that insurance companies don't cover mold if it was like if someone bought a home and they found out that there was mold in the walls, but they didn't know it before, that wouldn't be an insurance covered item. However, if there was like a rainstorm or something that caused the damage and it's new because of this, that becomes an insurance item. Is that how that works?
Correct. It's all based on your policy has written down. Every policy will be different. So I could go to your house and it's one way, then I go to the next house and it's completely different. It's all based on the policy. But the most common way to think about it is sudden incidental burst or anything that's kind of by accident that happens in your home. You fall asleep and you leave the water on and you flood your whole entire house. That's covered by insurance. But a lot of homeowners are scared because they caused it and they're afraid to call in. So they end up taking care of the damages and they repair themselves. So that's kind of like where we come in. We don't only have the equipment to take care of it. We also have the knowledge as to how to help you proceed with the claim. What's the proper way to submit it to make sure that you increase the chances of getting it covered through the insurance. There's a lot of things they cover, but if there is mold that has been there sitting for a long period of time, they consider that long-term issue. So,
like a pre-existing, just like with medical insurance, right? Something pre-existing, they're not going to cover it unless it just happened.
And I think those are the key terms, right? He mentioned the sudden incidental burst. And then what you were referring to earlier is going to be that long-term issue that's already been there previously. And that's where really the separation comes into play.
Right. Okay. And one other thing that you mentioned is this is something you take care of. Like if somebody were to reach out to you first at the time that they notice an incident before, I mean, I'm not saying don't call your insurance, definitely, do that. But if they were to, in the event, just say, I noticed this, I think that I have damage, and they reach out to you to come evaluate it, you can process that insurance claim for them so they don't have to deal with everything that goes along with that?
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that we do is we have a system where it documents everything live. We take pictures as timestamped, so it's better for the insurance to get the documentation done by a professional because it helps understanding the claim, when it happened, how it happened, what areas are affected, how many areas. And that's what we put in kind of like a report for the homeowner and submit it for them and fight it for them for the reimbursement of the service rendered.
And another thing that I don't think a lot of people understand is that your insurance wants us involved. They want us to come into play. A lot of times when you're opening the claim, the first thing they're going to ask you, one of the first questions is, have you called the mitigation company yet? And that's where we come into play. And the reason they want us is because, the definition of mitigation is to stop the severity of something from getting worse.
Right.
And the longer you let something sit, the worse it's going to get. Either the water is going to continue to travel. Mold grows 24 to 48 hours. You're going to start some mold growth. So the quicker you can get us in there, the faster we can help. And you mentioned earlier, right, we're going to help you through the claim process. And that's where our consultative approach comes into play, where we want to make sure that we're helping the homeowner through the process, start to finish.
Yeah, and I feel like I guess there's confusion out there for the homeowners why they don't do that or don't think of doing that is they don't know, like, would the insurance want to pick their own company or whatever, but if you can handle this and start the process, it definitely does make more sense. I mean, you just imagine when you're calling the insurance company and you're like, hey, I see water, and they're asking you all these questions. You don't know anything. All you know is you see water, whereas a professional will definitely be able to tell them a lot more about the severity of the situation.
Correct. And, hitting that subject a little bit more into detail, one of the things that I got to say is basically, yes, the insurance will have someone online that's available to go out to your property because, like he stated, they want to make sure they don't end up paying $5,000 when they could pay $2,000. So they want the leak to be stopped. They want everything to be extracted, put equipment to dry it out. They'll refer you to a company that, for them, it's under vendor list. But by all means, being a vendor doesn't mean you provide the best service at all times.
Right.
You could be a vendor and have good or bad service, or be too busy to the point where now you're giving bad service because of how busy you are.
Yeah.
A lot of times you call a claim, you open up a claim, it takes 24 to 48 hours for them to assign even an adjuster.
Oh,
Then
wow.
the adjuster calls you and refers a vendor.
Yeah.
By then, your house already has mold or started to grow
Problem's
mold.
worse, yeah.
So the process for the insurance is not as fast as everyone thinks. That's where you call us. We could be out there within 1 hour and start extracting, taking care of the issue. And then we worry about taking care of the payment at the end with the insurance. So we settle with them. So at the end, if the insurance says, I don't agree on this estimate, we want to pay only $2,000, we settle with the insurance.
So you take the headache off the homeowner's
Correct.
plate completely.
Correct.
Completely. That's amazing. That's really good to know. And what all, so not just water, where I feel like water is probably one of those things that is huge every time it rains, because it never rains here. I feel like the houses here are just not, they're not equipped for rain. Your house will be fine, and then we get one rainstorm and everyone's roofs are leaking. Like it's not, we're just not equipped for rain here.
And one of the issues we have, or you kind of see, is there's a big storm or a lot of wind coming out today, but it's going to rain 6 months from now.
Yeah.
So today your shingles kind of got dislocated. They're all sideways. You're not going to know you're going to have an issue until it rains.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen 6 months down the line, 7 months down the line. So kind of like one of the preventive maintenance is always keep an eye on your roof. I know it's kind of hard, but you got to get inspections out there to make sure you're ready for that next rainy day, you know?
That's what I see a lot is people say, oh, my roof never leaks. And I'm like, yeah, but it didn't rain at all last year. How would you know if your roof leaks? You have no idea. It didn't rain. So yeah, you really don't. And it seems like every few years we get a really good rainstorm. Like this year has been great. I mean, I love the fact that we're getting water. We need water so bad in the city, so that's amazing. But it has been very destructive to the homes in Vegas.
And that's one of the issues. You get a lot of water, and then we call the insurance and we say, I have a flood.
Yeah.
And automatically, once you call in a claim and use those words, they're going to tell you you're not covered. And homeowners tend to hang up and then start taking care of it on their own. Because for them, flood means you just had a flood where the river just overflowed,
and that's very rare.
And we don't have that here because there's no issues with rivers, no issues with, it's kind of like saying I just had the volcano erupted and you just had lava all over the place. Well, that doesn't happen here. So your policy is not going to have that coverage here.
Yeah, we don't have flood insurance because it does rarely flood here. When I was growing up in Vegas, and you guys grew up in Vegas too, do you remember I'm like, is this in my head? But I seen pictures that proved to me that it was really true. But I remember as a kid seeing sometimes the water up to like the freeway, up to the overpass.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Like it was crazy. We used to flood like crazy here before they drew all the drainage, before they made all the drainage canals. But yeah, it's not really an issue anymore. You rarely see that. So
yeah, and the main thing is just understanding that calling it in, it's also how your claim is going to be directed. So you use the wrong
verbiage,
verbiage, and you're going to be stuck in a position where they're telling you you're denied.
So calling you first is definitely still a better scenario because you know how to speak with them, you know what to say and how to walk through the scenario of how to fix it. So besides flood, and not floods, but besides water damage, I mean, what are common things that you get called for? Because like I said, it doesn't rain here often, so that must not be what's keeping you busy. What is it that you guys are commonly out there on jobs doing?
We get calls for mold.
A lot.
Fire, cleanup. The main thing is the strongest one is water. Water mitigation is the most common one.
What's a big cause of that besides rain?
Angle stops, water heaters, garbage disposals, they break. Every fixture in your home
that has water.
You gotta understand there's always pressure, about 30 psi of pressure running through every single water line. At one point, something's gonna give out. There's gonna be a bad solder that a plumber did 6 years ago that today it gave out. Being with, one of the benefits of having bad water is the calcium. It kind of starts covering or protecting you from small leaks. It starts creating a
It
buildup.
builds up, yeah.
So then you don't see the little tiny leaks or little, droplets.
It'll create a little coat on it, but
Correct.
eventually
But
it'll wear out.
eventually it will burst.
Right.
If you look up online, angle stops maybe have a lifespan of 10 years. The water lines from a washing machine, they have a lifespan of over 5 years. So everything in your home has a lifetime. Water heaters 10 years.
Yeah.
And if you don't do the maintenance in 3 years, then you're replacing them. So
Yeah.
keeping maintenance on everything, it definitely helps.
I feel like because we have hard water, it's super destructive here too.
It's horrible.
And, like on all of our plumbing and the fixtures and everything like that, our water's very, very rough.
Right, absolutely. And I think on the flip side of what he was mentioning, where the calcification may hide some of the pinhole leaks that are in the water lines, when that calcification starts to happen at the end of the water line where the angle stop is, that's where it's a lot more common for it to completely burst. You won't even see just a leak, it's going to completely burst. You've got water spraying out, you're out getting a haircut, you come back and it's been 40 minutes of the water just running in your home, and you come back to a home that's just been flooded. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And the sometimes if it's inside the wall, I've seen so many instances, home inspections, right? Where it's like water burst inside the wall, and it's like you can't stop it. It's inside the wall.
Right.
It's that can be super destructive.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see those. You don't expect to find them. It could be in the middle of the night. It happens. But another way that you could get an issue is when you have a backup. Let's say you go to the bathroom and you accidentally throw so much toilet paper to the point where it clogs your drains. You might not get a backup now because you just flushed the toilet. You're only going to throw in the toilet maybe 4 gallons of water. But when you end up washing your clothes, all that water has nowhere to go. So then you probably put your clothes to wash, you go to the store, you come back, and all that water is all over the house because it needs an exit. And sometimes the easiest way out is through a toilet. Wow. And that's where you end up calling that you have a toilet backup, and that's what we do as well. At that point, it's very important to understand that, there's a lot of bacteria there.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And,
take care of that.
with now being with COVID going around, that's also another area that we specialize in disinfecting for COVID.
Oh, so you go in homes after someone, like if someone was exposed to COVID or had COVID, you go in the homes and do disinfecting?
To be honest, that's a service that we could provide, but
Yeah.
we don't market it because we want our employees to be safe. We kind of did kind of like a survey and asked everyone, do they feel comfortable? And they'd rather stay away from it a little bit better, which it helps us also keep everyone active on the water side, and that way everyone understands that our company does do it after every job. We disinfect the area.
That's good.
But we don't offer it as a service unless we really, really get a call that it's needed.
Yeah. And that's definitely understandable. Is that something, and that's something I've never really considered or thought of, is that something that insurance is covering now in any realm, or is it not?
No, they're not covering that. What they're covering is the extra PPE that is needed to make sure that when we go to the next water job, that everyone's protected, and we take the drastic measures of wiping everything extra just to make sure that everything's safe for everyone.
Yeah. And that's something on all levels. I mean, even when it comes to like business owners and tax write-offs and everything now. So PPP is becoming a huge expense for all of us, as all types of business owners, because now it's a requirement, and it's something that we have to take into of course, when we file our taxes and everything, they have to take into consideration that expenses is increased tremendously because of it's a necessity now. Yeah. So, what is it that homeowners need to take into consideration when they're looking for mitigation companies, when they're searching for a company, when they're researching? Maybe I feel like in an emergency, homeowners shouldn't really take time to be interviewing multiple companies, but what is it things that they need to take into consideration when talking to people?
Absolutely, and I think there's two different sides to that coin, right? If you're in an emergency, you're going to call the first company that you can find to come out and take care of it, right?
Right.
But if you have that scenario where maybe you just found some mold that was already there and you're starting to do a little bit of shopping around, you want to know what kind of guarantees that company can offer you, right? Are they going to guarantee that there's going to be no mold afterwards? Are they going to do testing afterwards to make sure that it's all taken care of? What does their customer service look like? What does their response time look like? Do they provide support to you 24/7? Because if we're going to have equipment running in your home, it's going to be running 24/7. If something happens to the equipment at 12 at midnight, who are you going to call? Do you have a support line?
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
have somebody to call? If a containment where we set up a drying chamber falls in the middle of the night and it's sitting on top of the equipment, who does your contact to come out and take care of that, right?
That's important.
And a lot of companies that are insurance vendors, they have office hours because that's cheaper to the insurance, if that makes
Of course,
sense.
yeah.
We're not directly working as insurance vendors, so we have a 24/7 support line. We have 24/7 response time. So anytime that something goes on in your home, we're going to be out there and we're going to be taking care of you. Customer service is a really big one. He mentioned it earlier. We come from customer service background, so I do believe that's one of the biggest things that we have playing in our favor is our customer service. We understand how important it is. Customer is always important to take care of. So anything that the homeowner needs, customer satisfaction is going to be number one to us.
That is super important. And that is really, I mean, even for myself, that's how I built my business. You know,
Right.
customer service is the number one thing. And it really is when I started in my industry, I realized the lack that I seen out there in just all
Right.
different aspects. And I was like, I'm going to provide a little bit better service for people. And it so sets you apart.
Right.
So people can rest assured that they're not going to, be on hold for 2 hours or, there's an emergency and they're getting a voicemail that says they'll call back within 48 hours or something like that's
where it gets
awful.
a little scary, absolutely.
Yeah, that is
Absolutely.
very scary. And of course, I can only imagine when people contact you, they're in a scary situation.
Yeah, and that's very important now with millennials taking over. With
Yeah,
They
right.
know how to use computers and everything. So you get a lot of feedback online, but just simply by looking at reviews.
I
Reviews
know.
tell you a lot about a company.
Yeah.
I know that it's hard to make sure that you make the right decision in the middle of the night when you're shopping around. But if you focus on the reviews, I mean it's definitely gonna help you tremendously
Yeah.
on picking the proper company.
Yeah, for sure. That's what in my marketing when I'm speaking with somebody directly, I'm like, don't let me. I don't even want to brag to you. Just here's my Google my
Right.
name and look at my reviews, and you
Correct.
can see what people are saying because it's that means more than anything I have to say as far as I'm concerned. So
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. So what if somebody just delays? Things aren't addressed. I mean, I know the answer to this, but what can happen?
It actually happened to us in the beginning of COVID. Everyone was scared because
Oh.
of COVID, where customers had issues and they were kind of waiting out because they were scared of COVID. Well, what happened is 3 months on the line, when they saw everything wasn't changing, they decided to call in and get a mitigation company out there. Adjusters were going out there and denying claims because they didn't proceed the date of the incident. So it's like you have an accident in your car today and you call it in 6 months down the line. It's just not gonna make sense to them.
Plus, it can cause, when we're talking water damage, I'm sure that can cause so
Oh, yeah.
much more damage.
Yeah, so it just goes down to if you don't call it in the moment it happens, it plays against you.
Yeah.
So you want to report everything that's going on in your property. Preferably, have someone like us help you put in a report, because we don't just put a report with paperwork. We also do a picture report with thermal cameras, humidity report to kind of let you know how much water is trapped between the materials. And we do a recommendation as to what materials have to be removed.
Right. And there's many cases where, because we have drywall, we use drywall here, so many cases where water damage can be so severe that, you have to remove all the drywall,
Correct.
you have to get rid of it because there's from what my understanding, there's a point where you just can't, you can't get past that once it's inside the drywall. Is that correct?
Yeah, even if it's a minor leak, you might think the drywall looks perfectly good on this side, but there's a painted drywall that has a lot of materials that are preventing from all the mold from coming out. But what the issue is, every wall that's an exterior wall has insulation, so it is retaining that water for a longer period of time, and that's where the mold likes to be in an area where no one's bugging it. So
Right.
it's very, very easy to grow mold in Vegas, and And a lot of times the smallest leaks are the worst ones.
Yeah, because the small drips can cause so much damage, right? I've spoken with some like house flippers, people that flip homes and stuff like that in the past. And one thing that I've heard that I think is pretty universal from the people that I've spoken to that do flips is they're not scared of or they don't hesitate, I guess, in handling getting like water damage restoration taken care of, because it's a pretty simple process when you contact the right company and take care of things like that. So they're really not scared of like distressed homes that have water damage. They know that it can be resolved pretty simply. But a lot of people shy away from homes that have fire damage because they said there's a lot involved in that. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, the issue with fire is obviously the fire department came in and put all the fire down. So now you got two issues. You got the fire, you got the smoke, and you got the water.
Oh, yeah.
So three in
total.
total.
So it's threefold, yeah.
And then at the end, because something involving with the electrical caught on fire, now you got to bring an electrician. Then the AC is also affected. So now you got to bring an HVAC company. Then the plumbing is also affected. So now you got to bring a plumber. So it comes out, you end up having so many trades. And because of it being a fire, sometimes you do have to remove some structural materials. And that's where you got to bring in an engineer to come and do a kind of like a plan of action to get everything back to normal, support the house and take everything. So that's the main issue with fires, is just too much work to make sure the house is safe.
Yeah, so in some cases, I'm sure that's probably why they shy away from it. It's probably a complete rebuild, and that's a ton of money.
It's like building a new house.
Yeah, so you're running through insurance. You live there, so it's not that big of a problem. You have to go through that process. But yeah, if you're flipping homes, and that's so much more of a headache. That you're looking
at your like ROI and what you're going to make off that. Yeah, I can imagine. You might at that point just tear it down and start all over.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. So yeah, that makes a lot more sense on why they would want to shy away from it. And I never thought about that insulation, even just like everything has to be replaced. Fire's destructive.
There will be way more inspections by the city.
Permits, that's what I've heard.
Make sure it's up to code, so it's just, you got a police officer behind you all day.
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying, but it's the right way to do it, and that's why it's more expensive.
Yeah, so people out there, if you're like trying to find a good deal, you see a burnt down house might not always be the best deal. Take that into consideration.
Right.
So you guys handle water damage, fire damage, is there and mold. Anything else that I'm missing?
Water related is also to the category 3 jobs, which is the sewer backups, drain.
Yeah.
But those are treated a little bit different, more protection for the homeowner, for the employee. So it's related, but it just gets treated a little bit different.
Yeah.
We also could do, but we also stay away from it, biohazard. If there's blood or anything like that, that's also our industry.
Oh, okay.
We also have employees that are trained for that, and they can do it. So hoarding, basically, if we go to a home and there's a lot of personal stuff, so we do the.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you see these on the news sometimes. You're like, how did someone live in that house? It's awful.
Right, and not only on that piece, but I mean, if you have water damage in your living room, you have a lot of personal belongings there. If your flooring has to come out, then where's your couch going to go? Where's all of your furniture? So that's also part of the services that kind of fall into our position. In order for us to perform our mitigation of reducing the damage from the water, we're also going to do a professional pack out of your belongings.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's included in the service that you do? That's amazing.
And the insurance pays for all of it, because part of your policy says, or you have coverages for personal protection, personal property. So if anything gets damaged with water and they have to reimburse you for that item, we do a report on that item, so that way it's easier for your adjuster to make a decision on the dollar amount for the replacement.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's a great service, because that is one thing that, you have your whole living room you have to pack up while they're doing it. So That's definitely tremendously helpful. So how do people reach you? And my recommendation to you guys out there is I would take their number, get it, put it in your phone. You never know when you're going to need them, but when you do, it's nice to know who to call.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you can Google our name, WFM Restoration. WFM as in water, fire, mold.
Oh,
kind of
water,
all-encompassing.
fire, mold.
Yep.
Okay.
Our phone number is 702-496-6323.
Okay.
But it's simpler if you just Google us. We're usually one of the top results on there. Give us a call, and we'll be there to help you out through the whole process. Even if you don't need a claim, we'll walk you through how we need to handle whatever issue that you're having.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And you guys know how to reach me. If you forget and you don't put their number in your phone right now and you forget how to get a hold of them, you can always call me and I'll help you get you in contact with them. Yep. But thank you for coming out today and really covering this, because it's not common knowledge. And I mean, It's one of those things where even as realtors, where we run into an issue and we're like, oh my gosh, who do we call? Like, what do we do here? It's when the time's needed, it becomes urgent. So.
Yeah, and we do free inspections. We come out there within an hour from you calling us, no matter the time of the day. Okay. Our goal is to always be out at your property within 1 hour. We have guys all over town that have vehicles ready to go. So if you call us in the middle of the night and someone's 10 minutes from you, then our ETA will be 10 minutes.
That is amazing. Yeah. I love that standard of service, to know that you have someone that's going to be available when there's a problem. So that's good. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
And I look forward to talking to you again. I mean, of course, I hope it's not an urgent situation, but it happens. So yes, I'm sure. And everybody out there, if you are watching our show or listening to our show on iTunes, take a minute, like, comment, share, tell your friends about us, and stay tuned for all the great things we have coming up in the future. Thanks for joining us on Realty Check.